All right, let's start talking about balancing chemical reactions. Now, the acronym that we use on how to balance is MINO, MINHO. When we're doing this, the one thing that we need to think of is the whole reason why we balance. Now, we balance to, number one, have the same number of atoms on both sides. It's coming back to the law of conservation of mass. The way that we balance, or the steps that we always balance the metals first, then the ions, then the nonmetals, then hydrogen, and then oxygen. So we're going to work this one out down here. We have sodium hydroxide reacting with your sulfuric acid to produce water and sodium sulfate. So to work this one out, what we can do here is we have to have the same number of atoms on both sides. So what I like to do is I like to write down the atoms we're dealing with. We're dealing with our sodium, we're dealing with our sulfur, we're dealing with, or actually not sulfur, but sulfate. We're going to keep that as an ion, SO4. We're dealing with hydrogen and oxygen. Now, the reason why I kept sulfate as an ion is because I can see it there and I can see it in the product. So it's in the reactant and it's in the product, so we keep it as an ion. So we go ahead and look at what we have here. On the reactant side, I have one sodium. On the product side, I have two sodiums. Ions, I have one sulfate. And over on the product side, I have one sulfate. Remember, if there's not a parentheses around a polyatomic, it's what should be there is a parentheses and then a 1 on the outside. And that's how many sulfates I have. We just don't write it because it's understood. Our hydrogens, I have 1, 2, 3 hydrogens. And then on our product side, I only have 2 hydrogens. And then oxygens, I have 1. And then over here, I only have 1. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow my MINO order, and I am going to balance everything out. So I will start with my metals. So my metals that are not balanced are the sodiums. Okay, I see that I have 2 on my product side and only 1. So to fix that, what I'll do is I will add a coefficient of 2 in front of my sodium, which changes this to a 2. So I have a 2, 2. It also changed my oxygen and my hydrogen. So my oxygen, I now have 2, because this distributes out. So I have 2 plus, now I have 2 hydrogens plus 2 hydrogens, which now it is 4. Okay, so I go ahead, my ions, so my metals are done. My ions, they're already balanced 1 and 1, so I don't have to worry about that. Non-metals, don't have any besides my hydrogen and oxygen. Balance my hydrogen, it's a 4 on my reactant, so I put a 2 right here. That makes that go to a 4, and my oxygen go to a 2, and they're balanced.